let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down a wild May 2026 rivalry match between Inter Miami and Orlando City. It's a game that absolutely shattered the rules of mathematical probability. We're going to dig into the numbers, the key players, and the exact moments that turned a guaranteed blowout into a literal miracle.
So we are starting right here. A win probability of less than 1%. I mean, in professional sports, that number is usually a complete death sentence. But for Orlando City, that tiny microscopic fraction of a percentage point wasn't the end. It was really just the prologue to something spectacular.
By the 47th minute, the broadcast computers were completely convinced this game was a wrap. Miami was sitting pretty at an overwhelming 96% chance to win, a draw was hovering at a meager 3%, and then there's Orlando squeezed into a slice of probability so thin you can barely even register it. To understand why the models were so utterly convinced Miami had this in the bag, we really have to look at what happened in the first 45 minutes.
Section 1. The Pink Dominance, building a massive lead.
Miami's star-studded roster absolutely dominated that first half. And I mean, it wasn't just that they were winning, they were putting on an absolute clinic. Here's how fast things unraveled. First, Ian Frey, the hometown kid from Coconut Creek, scores his first opening goal of the year to make it 1-0. Then, the floodgates completely open. We get this brilliant link-up play between Luis Suárez and Lionel Messi, with Suárez playing a perfect pass into space to set up an easy finish for Tesquia, 2-0. And then just to really twist the knife, Messi scores this incredible, constantly floating goal that literally leaves two defenders sliding in opposite directions, 3-0. A massive blowout felt totally inevitable.
Section 2. Keeping Orlando alive, the unsung hero.
Now, when you're facing a 3-0 deficit that early, it is so easy to just assume the defense and the goalkeeper failed completely. But honestly, without Canadian international goalkeeper Maxime Crepeau, Orlando's 1% chance would have been absolute zero. He faced a complete barrage in that first half. Before Miami really ran away with it, Crepeau made 4 massive saves in super quick succession. On one specific sequence, he makes an initial save, reacts incredibly fast to get back to his feet, makes 2 successive saves, and then pulls off a spectacular big-time upper 90 block to keep it from being 4 or 5-0. The guy was quite literally putting his body on the line, even running into the goalpost at one point. Crepeau stopped the bleeding just enough to keep a pulse in his team.
Moving to Section 3, Battle of the Tens, a clash of Argentines.
Okay, so this match ultimately crystallized into this super high-stakes duel between two number 10s. On one side, you have Lionel Messi, widely considered the greatest ever, and a guy who already boasted 8 goals in just 5 games against his Florida rivals. Then, on the other side, you have Orlando's Martino. Now, he might not have Messi's global hardware, but Martino was stepping onto that pitch in the absolute greatest form of his life. We're talking a staggering 39 goal contributions in all competitions last season. This was basically a Goliath who absolutely owned the matchup, going toe-to-toe against a challenger riding the absolute peak of his career momentum.
Section 4. The impossible comeback, erasing the deficit.
So Martino just methodically chips away at this deficit. Step 1 happens just before the half. Thanks to some truly brilliant awareness from 18-year-old Justin Ellis to hold up play and keep possession, Martino gets an entertaining goal back, 3-1. Then comes step 2 in the second half. Martino strikes again for a heavy brace, and suddenly it's 3-2. You could literally feel the energy shift in the stadium. Step 3 is just pure hustle. Brian O'Hare goes up for a header in the box and gets pushed from behind by Miami's Iago. The ref points to the spot, winning a penalty check. Which leads us right to step 4. Martino steps up and buries the penalty for a dramatic hat trick. 3-3, deficit completely erased.
And that's when the sheer panic sets in. Just like the broadcast noted, Miami was completely in disarray, completely falling apart. Think about that for a second. You have a team of global superstars, literal players who have won World Cups and Champions Leagues, just completely losing their composure. They couldn't hold the ball, their defensive shape was shattered, and the momentum had swung so violently that Miami looked like they were just holding on for dear life.
But Orlando didn't just settle for the 3-3 draw. No way. The chaos continued, the pressure mounted, and they actually completed the ultimate miracle. A 4-3 victory, snatching all 3 points right from a star-studded Miami squad. From down 3-0 facing Lionel Messi and Luis Suárez, they proved that games aren't played on a spreadsheet, right? They're played on the grass by players who have to decide in the absolute darkest moments whether or not they truly believe.
So the biggest takeaway here from this explainer is the sheer power of belief over statistics. Orlando City could have easily just packed it in, but they didn't. They relied on their goalkeeper to keep a tiny window open, and then their number 10 absolutely kicked the door down. It leaves